let's start with the other guy on the Texans, J.J. Watt. One of the best players of his generation, still only 32, younger than me, which makes him young because I'm young. He got cut today. Should the 49ers sign him? Niner Nick, why don't you start?
Yeah. J.J. Watt, he's 3 seasons removed from a 16-sack season. He played in 26 games, including the playoffs, over the course of the last 2 years, picked up 10 sacks. And you hear a lot about the Texans franchise and just how it's so discombobulated. No player has a true good experience playing there. So if J.J. Watt, he's on the free agent market, I believe he's going to be hungrier than ever. And he's been a perennial All-Pro. He's someone that you always want to sign. He's a great guy in the locker room, a great player on the field. Yes, he's on the decline, but I truly feel like he'd be an upgrade over Kerry Hyder, even over Eric Armstead. So whenever you have the opportunity to sign a player like J.J. Watt of his caliber, you have to do it.
I think J.J. Watt is definitely still a good player. He does have some injury concerns, yes, but I think there will be a lot of teams interested in him. Green Bay, he's a Wisconsin guy, so that would be an interesting spot. Chicago. And then I already saw Lawrence in Dallas trying to get him over there. So I think he'll be a popular guy this offseason.
Yeah, he's a terrific player. Of course, the Niners should be interested. If it were baseball and baseball does have a salary cap now. If baseball in the 90s and there were no salary cap, then yeah. I think the equation is we're gonna get to that. Hold on, but good question. I think the equation is if you sign Watt, who are you giving up? Because the Niners don't have unlimited cap space. So if you sign Watt, I think it comes at the expense of Trent Williams. Who would you rather have, Trent Williams or J.J. Watt? That's a legit question. But that's not the only thing. I think you also have to look at the fact that Watt can play anywhere on the defensive line. But I think a little bit like, he's way better than Armstead. But a little bit like Armstead, he's at his best rushing from the interior. Like Armstead, like Kinlaw. And he can play D-end. But I think, I don't know, is that really the best use of J.J. Watt to bring him here and have him replace D Ford in that role? What do you guys think? I don't know.
I don't think he fits the edge rusher role. I think he would be that Armstead hybrid, bouncing in and out depending on run and passing down situations. I think that's where Watt fits more. It'd be interesting to see him in an edge rusher role, but I think he's much more successful as a 3-4 end.
Okay.
Yeah, it's tough to see him fit in on this defense with the current personnel, but like one of the viewers just asking the question, if Bosa's out of the picture already and you plug because of a Watson trade, that's where I think it makes the most sense. Where if Bosa is the player traded in a potential Watson trade, you just plug in J.J. Watt right there. And Bosa is third-year cap hit for being the second overall pick. He's going to be making that. And I don't know what the dead cap would be and what the 49ers would still owe Bosa. But if you plug in J.J. Watt to play that Nick Bosa role for a year until you find a long-term solution, if a Watson trade does go down and Bosa is the player involved, that's a no-brainer.
That's a really good point. So let me follow up with the final follow-up question. Who would you guys rather lock up long-term? Or who would you guys rather sign to a big money contract, Watt or Trent Williams, and why? And again, if you pick one, you're going to have to explain how you're going to address the other position in the draft or free agency.
Well, how much do you think Watt's going to be? Like 16 million?
That's a good point, right? It's a little bit cheaper than Trent Williams.
Well, because if you're going Watt, if you're going defensive line, I don't think they'll be able to afford him. But I mean, Shaq Barrett's going to be what, 21 million?
Yeah.
Would you rather go the $5 extra million for Shaq Barrett? If you're losing Bosa, I think you got to go edge rusher. But I think I'd rather go the defensive player just because I think they can upgrade the offensive line in a couple different ways. Still no rumors on Terran Armstead, but I'm going to say that till it happens or it doesn't. But Trent Williams is going to be probably 23 million, and that's just too much for me because it's going to handicap what they can do with the rest of their roster. If they go Watt and he's 15 million, they can at least re-sign Jason Verrett, or they can also re-sign Kyle Juszczyk, and that helps other positions as well.
Yeah.
The one thing that is interesting to me when talking about what J.J. Watt would demand on the open market is he signed his contract extension like 6 years ago. So he's been making not a lot of money for a premium edge rusher, pass rusher in the NFL. This season, he was scheduled to make, I want to say, $17 million. He was scheduled to make $17.5 million, and that was the most money he was ever set to make in a single season. So he hasn't really gotten a massive contract like we've seen Joey Bosa get, like Nick Bosa is going to demand. When it comes down to Trent Williams or J.J. Watt, I have to go with Trent Williams because it's a lot harder to find the left tackle. And when you look at what the 49ers were able to accomplish this past season on the defensive side of the ball with a guy like Kerry Hyder, you have to prioritize protecting your quarterback. So, yeah, you got to prioritize Trent Williams.
Yeah, when I look at Watt, he looks expensive. The fit isn't perfect. And again, the Niners D-line is better than their O-line. So I would lean towards no one Watt. I think the Niners should be spending their money on the offensive line. And that doesn't mean they have to get Trent Williams, but it might mean they get a left tackle and a center and not a defensive end in free agency. But it's worth discussing because J.J. Watt really is a future Hall of Famer, and he would make the Niners a lot better. You can't just – they need to have this meeting internally, and I'm sure they will.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't know there was a third option available, though. I would have taken the third.
Because I always take the third option on my show. I make the rule. You can do that. What's the third option you like?
Well, what you said. I'd rather get 2 offensive linemen for the price of 1.